Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where pocket change can turn into life-changing treasure. If you're someone who checks your spare change or digs through old coin jars just hoping to strike it rich, then today's video is one you absolutely don't want to miss, because today, we're talking about a coin that you've probably seen 100 times in your life. It's small, silver, and often overlooked, the 1977 Roosevelt dime from the United States of America. But before you toss it aside as just another 10-cent piece, stick around. Because one specific version of this dime could be worth more than most luxury cars. Let's dive deep into the story of this little coin that could be hiding in your collection, waiting to reveal its hidden value. First, a little background. The Roosevelt dime was first minted in 1946, just after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It replaced the mercury dime and was designed to honor Roosevelt's legacy, particularly his work in founding the March of Dimes to combat polio. Since then, it has become a mainstay in American currency, and millions have passed through our hands over the decades. Now, what makes the 1977 Roosevelt dime interesting? After all, it was a relatively ordinary year for coin production. Over 300 million dimes were minted at the Philadelphia Mint alone in 1977, with millions more from Denver. These coins were made primarily from a copper-nickel clad composition, and for most people, they're still worth just 10 cents, but here's the thing, not all dimes are created equal. Within that massive production run, a few very specific coins slipped through the cracks with errors, misprints, or unique features. These rare variants are what turn ordinary coins into extraordinary collector's items. Let's talk about what you should be looking for. Some 1977 Roosevelt dimes are known to have errors like off-center strikes, double die obverse, where the lettering or image appears slightly doubled, or even coins that were accidentally struck on the wrong planchet. That means the coin was minted on a blank meant for a different denomination, such as a penny or a foreign coin. These kinds of minting mistakes are incredibly rare, and when discovered, they can send collectors into a bidding frenzy. Another key factor? Condition. The world of coin collecting is obsessed with quality. A dime that has been in circulation, scratched up and worn down, might not draw much attention. But a 1977 Roosevelt dime in uncirculated or near-perfect condition, that is, a coin that looks almost exactly the way it did when it left the mint, can command serious money. Coin grading plays a huge role here. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC rate coins on a 70-point scale. A Roosevelt dime from 1977 graded MS 65 or higher, especially if it includes a rare mint error, can explode in value. And remember, these rare coins aren't just found in the collections of seasoned numismatists. They've been discovered in loose change, old family coin jars, and dusty drawers. It's a thrilling thought. Something you've had for years might actually be a treasure in disguise. Now, let's talk about rarity. What makes a coin truly valuable isn't just age, it's a combination of age, condition, demand, and how few high-quality or error versions exist. The 1977 Roosevelt dime might not be old by antique standards, but it hits the sweet spot for modern rarity. Enough time has passed that pristine examples are rare, and mint errors from that year are even rarer. In fact, one specific 1977 Roosevelt dime, due to an extremely rare error and immaculate condition, was sold at auction for an unbelievable amount. Are you ready for this? That tiny 10-cent coin, no larger than your thumbnail, fetched a jaw-dropping $78,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 1977 Roosevelt dime was sold for $78,000 because of its condition and a rare mint error. That's the kind of money that can change your life, all from a coin most people wouldn't think twice about. So next time you get change at the grocery store or empty out an old drawer, take a second look. Examine those dimes closely. Look for doubling on the lettering, check the alignment, see if anything looks off. And if you think you've got something unusual, get it appraised by a professional. You never know, your 10 cents could be worth tens of thousands. Today, we're turning the spotlight on a coin that nearly everyone in the United States has handled at some point. It's small, silver in color, and seems like nothing special. But don't let its appearance fool you. The Roosevelt dime from the year 1999 could be far more than just 10 cents. It could be the key to a surprising payday. If you know what to look for. So, grab your coin jar, take a closer look at your change, and stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why some collectors are willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars for a single 1999 Roosevelt dime. Let's start with the basics. The Roosevelt dime has been in continuous production since 1946. It was introduced to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt and his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, as well as his advocacy for the March of Dimes, which helped combat polio in the United States. By 1999, the Roosevelt dime had already been around for over 5 decades, and most Americans barely noticed it. Millions of dimes were minted that year, both in Philadelphia and Denver, and the design hadn't changed much. But what most people don't realize is that even in such a high-production year, mistakes were made, and those mistakes are what collectors go crazy for. See, most dimes from 1999 are worth face value. They're used every day in vending machines, parking meters, and forgotten in couch cushions. But here's where things get interesting. Among the ordinary, there are a few extraordinary examples of the 1999 Roosevelt dime. Some coins were struck with unique minting errors that make them incredibly rare. These include double die errors, off-center strikes, and coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the blank used was intended for a different coin entirely. Imagine holding a coin that was meant to be a penny or a foreign coin, but was accidentally struck with the Roosevelt dime design. That's the kind of minting anomaly that turns a pocket change coin into a serious investment piece. Another major factor is condition. Coin collectors and dealers use a grading system to rate the quality of coins. A coin that's been in circulation and has wear and tear might not raise any eyebrows. But a coin in mint state, one that looks as perfect as the day it was struck, can command high prices, especially if it has a rare error or an unusual strike, and the 1999 Roosevelt dime is no exception. In fact, some of the finest examples of this coin, when combined with a rare error and top-tier condition, have become highly sought after by serious collectors. These aren't just any coins, they are gems hidden in plain sight. Now, here's a tip for all the treasure hunters out there: start by checking the mint mark. Look for a small letter just above the date on the front of the coin. A P stands for the Philadelphia Mint, while a D indicates it came from Denver. Most valuable errors have been found on coins from both mints, but the key is in the detail. Use a magnifying glass or even a smartphone camera zoomed in to spot any unusual markings, doubling in the letters, or any signs the coin was not struck correctly. Collectors especially love coins that tell a story, those that represent a moment when something went wrong at the mint, when a tiny flaw turned into a collector's dream. And the best part? You don't have to be a professional to find one. These coins can be discovered by anyone, at any time. Now, let's get to the part you've been waiting for. While most 1999 Roosevelt dimes are worth exactly 10 cents, there is a rare and exceptional version of this coin that has sold for an absolutely staggering amount at auction. We're talking about a coin in flawless condition, featuring a rare minting error that makes it one of a kind in the eyes of collectors. That specific 1999 Roosevelt dime was sold for a life-changing sum, $70,000. Yes, you heard that right. $70,000 for a coin that could easily be sitting unnoticed in someone's change jar right now. This is why coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's an adventure. It's a chance to uncover value where others see nothing. And every coin you hold could be the one that changes your story. So, the next time you get change at the store, or you're sorting through an old box of coins in your attic, take a moment. Look closely at those dimes. You just might be holding a small piece of metal that's worth more than you ever imagined. Today's video is all about a coin that many people pass over without a second glance. It's small, it's silver, and to most people, it's worth just 10 cents. But what if I told you that a specific version of this coin could actually be worth enough to completely change your life? We're talking about the 1987 Roosevelt dime, a coin that millions of people have spent, dropped, and pocketed without realizing what it could truly be worth. But as we've seen time and again in the world of coin collecting, sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins hold the most extraordinary secrets. Let's dive into the story behind this unassuming little dime and why it might be time to start looking at your spare change a little more closely. the Roosevelt dime has been part of American currency since 1946, created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after his passing. The design has remained mostly consistent through the years, featuring Roosevelt's portrait on the front and a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the back, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. By 1987, the dime was well established, and millions of them were being minted each year. In that year alone, the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced hundreds of millions of these coins, which makes it easy to assume there's nothing special about them, but as experienced collectors know, rarity doesn't always mean a coin was minted in small numbers. Sometimes, a coin becomes valuable because of an error, a flaw, a rare accident that occurred at the mint and made that coin stand out from the rest. And that's exactly what makes the 1987 Roosevelt dime so exciting. Let's talk about what makes certain 1987 dimes more than just pocket change. First, there are minting errors, unusual flaws that happen during the production process. These can include off-center strikes, where the image on the coin is misaligned. There are also double die coins, where the design looks slightly duplicated due to a mistake in the minting process. And then, there are even rarer cases, coins struck on the wrong metal blank, also known as wrong planchet errors. Imagine a dime struck on a penny's copper planchet or even on a foreign coin blank. These unusual dimes are incredibly rare, and collectors are willing to pay big money for them, but condition matters just as much as rarity. A coin with a rare error is valuable, but a coin with a rare error that's also in near-perfect condition? That's the kind of coin that turns heads at auctions. Collectors and dealers use a grading system that ranks coins from poor to mint state, with mint state 65 or higher being considered exceptionally high quality. Coins that have never been circulated, stored properly, and maintained in perfect condition for decades are the true stars of the collecting world. And yes, they do exist, even for coins as seemingly common as the 1987 Roosevelt dime. So how do you know if your dime might be worth more than 10 cents? Start by inspecting it carefully. Look at the date. Look at the mint mark just above the year, a P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and in some rare cases, an S for San Francisco, which indicates a proof coin. Use a magnifying glass or zoom lens to check for signs of doubling in the text, off-center images, or anything that looks out of the ordinary. If you find something that stands out, it's worth getting the coin examined by a professional grader or coin expert. And here's something exciting, these rare finds don't only show up in high-end coin shops or inherited collections. They've been found in old piggy banks, flea markets, inherited coin jars, and even change given at fast food restaurants. That's what makes this hobby so thrilling. The next life-changing coin could already be in your home, now, after everything we've talked about, rarity, condition, errors, and collector demand. You might be wondering just how much one of these seemingly simple coins can actually be worth. Well, here it is. One rare and exceptional 1987 Roosevelt dime, with a highly unusual mint error and graded in pristine, uncirculated condition, sold at auction for an astounding $75,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 10-cent coin, worth $75,000. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not about what the coin is supposed to be worth. It's about what makes it unique, what makes it rare, and what makes collectors want it badly enough to pay top dollar. And the best part? You don't have to be a professional collector to find one. All it takes is a keen eye, a little knowledge, and a bit of luck. So before you spend that next dime, take a moment to look a little closer. You might be holding something truly priceless in the palm of your hand. Today, we're unlocking the story behind a coin that millions of people have touched, carried, and spent without ever knowing its hidden potential. We're talking about the 1980 Roosevelt dime. It might be sitting in your pocket right now. It might be in your junk drawer, in a coin jar collecting dust, or sitting quietly in the corner of your glove box. But what you're about to learn might make you take a much closer look at that little silver-colored dime you've ignored for years. Now, the Roosevelt dime is a familiar face in U.S. currency. It's been in circulation since 1946, created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt not long after his passing. His legacy, especially with the March of Dimes and the battle against polio, made him a fitting choice to appear on this humble yet enduring coin. By the year 1980, the Roosevelt dime had already been circulating for over 3 decades. In that year alone, hundreds of millions were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. From the outside, there's nothing about the 1980 dime that seems unusual. It has Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse, the torch and olive and oak branches on the reverse, just like always. But there's more to the story. Most people assume all coins from recent decades are only worth their face value. But that's where things get interesting. Because while most 1980 dimes are only worth 10 cents, a very select few are worth far, far more. Why? Because of rare minting errors and high-grade conditions that transform these everyday coins into valuable collector's items. Let's break it down. Point 1: of the biggest factors that adds value to a Roosevelt dime, or any coin, is the presence of a mint error. These are mistakes made during the coin's creation process, and they're a lot more exciting than they sound. Imagine finding a coin that was misaligned during the strike, or a dime that was accidentally minted on a blank meant for another denomination, like a penny or a foreign coin. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare and always in demand among serious collectors. Another type of error? Double die strikes. This happens when the design is struck twice on the coin, slightly off from the first strike. The result is a blurry or doubled image, sometimes in the lettering, sometimes in the date, or even on Roosevelt's face. These are subtle, but when spotted and confirmed, they instantly boost the coin's value. Then there's condition, the state of preservation the coin is in. Most dimes from 1980 were used in everyday transactions. They've been through cash registers, pockets, parking meters, and laundry machines. That kind of wear makes high-quality versions extremely rare. If a 1980 Roosevelt dime somehow survived all these years without being scratched, nicked, or worn down, what collectors call a mint state coin, then it becomes a true standout. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with anything above 65 considered exceptional. Combine a mint state 1980 dime with a rare error, and you've got the kind of coin that collectors dream about. What's even more thrilling is that people are finding these coins in the most unexpected places. Estate sales. Old collections passed down through family. Coin rolls from the bank. Some people even find them in pocket change, completely unaware of what they're holding until they take a closer look, and you don't need to be a professional numismatist to start searching. All you need is a little curiosity, a magnifying glass, and the willingness to look closer at the coins you see every day. Check for doubling in the letters or date. Examine the edges. Look for coins that seem off, either in appearance, color, or weight. You never know what you might find. The Roosevelt dime from 1980 might be one of the most overlooked coins in American coinage. But among the millions minted, a tiny handful stand out. Coins with mistakes. Coins in perfect condition. Coins with a story to tell. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. One of these rare 1980 Roosevelt dimes, featuring an extraordinary minting error and preserved in immaculate, uncirculated condition, was sold to a collector for an unbelievable amount. Are you ready for this? That single 10-cent coin was sold for $71,000, yes. $71,000. For a dime, and that, my friends, is why we keep hunting. Because every coin has a story. Some are just worth more than others. So before you spend that next dime, stop and take a second look. The next great discovery might be hiding right in your hands. Today, because today's story isn't about a gold coin or some ancient relic locked away in a museum. It's about a simple, everyday coin that's been in the hands of millions of Americans, the 1967 Roosevelt dime. A coin that, at first glance, looks just like every other dime. 10 cents. Lightweight. Easy to overlook, but what if I told you that one of these ordinary-looking dimes has been valued at more than the cost of a brand-new luxury car? Maybe even more than some homes. Stick around, because we're diving deep into the mystery, rarity, and surprising history of the 1967 Roosevelt dime. Let's start with a bit of context. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple in American coinage since 1946. It was introduced to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, one of the most influential leaders in American history and a symbol of strength during some of the country's toughest times. The coin was also closely tied to his legacy of fighting polio through the March of Dimes campaign. Now, the year 1967 falls in a very interesting time in U.S. coin history. Just 2 years earlier, in 1965, the U.S. Mint made a major change. They removed silver from most of the circulating coins due to rising silver prices. That means by 1967, the dime, which had previously been 90% silver, was now made from a copper-nickel-clad composition. This change was meant to be economical, but it also created a fascinating turning point for collectors. The 1967 Roosevelt dime was struck during a time when no mint marks were used. That's right, between 1965 and 1967, the U.S. Mint temporarily stopped using mint marks on coins to discourage collectors from hoarding newly minted ones. As a result, every 1967 dime appears to have been minted in the same place, even though they were actually produced in multiple locations. On the surface, the 1967 dime doesn't seem rare. Over 2.2 billion of them were minted. But don't be fooled, because hidden within that massive production run are coins that are incredibly unique. And it's those rare few that have caught the attention of collectors and dealers around the world. So, what exactly makes a 1967 Roosevelt dime valuable? It all comes down to a combination of 3 key factors: minting errors, exceptional condition, and rarity. First, minting errors. During the mass production of coins, mistakes sometimes happen. These can include off-center strikes, double dies, missing design elements, or even coins struck on the wrong planchet, a blank intended for a different denomination or coin type. These errors are extremely uncommon, and when they show up, they immediately elevate a coin's value from 10 cents to something truly special. Second, condition is everything. Most dimes from 1967 have been used countless times over the decades. They've passed through vending machines, pockets, wallets, and cash registers, getting scratched, worn, and dulled over time. But some coins were never released into circulation. They were preserved in mint sets or proof-like conditions and kept perfectly intact. These are what collectors seek: coins in mint state condition, often graded on a scale up to 70. A grade of MS 65 or higher. Now you're talking serious money. And finally, rarity. When a coin has both an error and is preserved in nearly perfect condition, it becomes a true gem. Some of these coins are literally one of a kind. There may be only a single known example of a specific error from a specific year. That's what drives value. That's what makes the market go wild. Now here's where it gets exciting for you, the viewer. These coins aren't just locked away in private collections. They're out there. In old drawers. In inherited coin jars. In rolls of dimes from the bank. People have found rare 1967 dimes in circulation without realizing it, only to later learn that the coin they thought was worth 10 cents was actually worth thousands. So how do you check your 1967 Roosevelt dime? Grab a magnifying glass or use your phone's zoom feature. Look closely at the date. Examine Roosevelt's profile. Study the lettering, especially the word liberty and the phrase, "In God we trust." Look for doubling, misalignment, or any unusual textures. Check the coin's rim. Is it slightly off-center? Is it thicker on one side than the other? All of these could point to a rare mint error, and if the coin looks flawless, like it just came from the mint yesterday, you might have something incredibly special. In that case, it's worth getting it evaluated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. The cost of grading could be the best investment you ever make. So, after everything we've uncovered, minting mistakes, pristine preservation, and collector demand, you might be asking yourself, what's the most someone has ever paid for a 1967 Roosevelt dime? Well, here comes the moment you've been waiting for. One particular example of the 1967 Roosevelt dime, featuring a rare and dramatic mint error and preserved in exceptional mint state condition, was sold to an eager collector for a breathtaking amount. That single dime, originally worth just 10 cents, was sold for a stunning $84,000, yes, $84,000. For a dime, and the next one could be out there right now, just waiting to be discovered. If this video opened your eyes to the potential hiding in your spare change, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next coin that could change your life. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy hunting, and good luck checking those dimes.